If I could have everybody's attention, we're going to go ahead and get started with our program here tonight. Again, my name is Alan York, radio broadcaster for Liberty Football and Men's Basketball. Welcome to the 2020 Liberty Athletics Hall of Fame. Hope you enjoyed your dinner, and you can go ahead and clap. That's okay. Hope you enjoyed your dinner and your dessert. We have a great program coming up. We're going to induct 6 new members to our 2020 class. Each member will have a short intro video played on the video monitors. The presenter then will speak a couple of minutes, and then the inductees will have 8, 9 or so minutes to talk about their experience here at Liberty. Before we get to those, I'd like to welcome up Liberty Athletics Director Ian Mccall for a couple of opening comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Alan. It's great to see everyone tonight, and welcome to the 2020 Liberty Athletics Hall of Fame induction ceremony. This is always a very special occasion for us, and we're delighted to have each and every one of you here tonight. I want to begin by thanking Tim East and the Hall of Fame Selection Committee for assembling such an incredible class and for hosting us this evening. So if you're a member of the selection committee, will you please stand so we can recognize you and express our appreciation? I'd also like to congratulate each of our 6 inductees tonight. We are very excited to honor you this weekend and look forward to spending time with you and your families. This is an incredible class that's being inducted this evening, and some of the finest, and certainly each person embodies Dr. Falwell's vision of training champions for Christ, and each one was very successful here at Liberty and continues to be a great ambassador for the university. So again, we're honored to recognize you this evening, and again tomorrow at the football game we'll also have a recognition there as the Flames try to go 4-0 as they take on Louisiana Monroe in a game that'll be nationally televised on ESPN2. So we're looking forward to that as well. It's now my great pleasure to introduce our acting president, Dr. Jerry Privo. Dr. Privo has provided just exemplary Christ-centered leadership for the university, and we're deeply indebted to him and his wife Carol for their service to the university right now. So please join me in giving him a warm welcome. Dr. Privo.
Well, nobody told me I was going to make any announcements tonight, but wow, this is a fine-looking group. As we walked through over here, I could hear all of you talking and having a good time, and that's what these things are all about. Well, I'm looking forward to meeting more of you. I've had the opportunity to meet some of you, and it's a real pleasure to be here at Liberty University. I've been here as chairman since about 2003. And now I'm in this position. I'm going to need all the help I can get, all right? And all the prayers that you can give us. And we appreciate all of you so very much. We're looking forward to the football game tomorrow. And this COVID thing keeps us from having the attendance we'd like to have. It keeps us from recognizing these that we're honoring tonight. But we're going to do our best, aren't we, Ian, tomorrow to put them on the giant screen. And you know, I've got another person you ought to induct into the Hall of Fame if it's just not Liberty. We have a lady here tonight who was the most valuable player in her basketball career. She played when girls' basketball was half court. How many of you remember that? Few of you do? That's right. And that's my wife, Carol Privo. Would you stand, please? She was a three-point shooter, and she always tells this story. She played against ball players that are about 6 foot or so. She's only about 5'2". Now she's shrunk to 5'1". But she would bounce the ball under their feet and run around on the other side and take off and get it. So that's what you have to do. Anything else I need to do? All right. Thank you so much. It's an honor to be here. Appreciate your prayers. Appreciate your help and your support. And we look forward to getting acquainted with more of you as the days go by. All right.
Thank you, Ian and Dr. Privo, for your leadership. Before we get to our first honoree tonight, we are going to say hello to our current members of the Hall of Fame that are in attendance here tonight. And we'll start with the class of 2009, Bob Bonheim and Kelvin Edwards. Class of 2010, Gina Gibson Richardson. Class of 2011, Paul Anand and Heather Zagan-Zeeland. Class of 2012, Ryan Werner. Class of 2014, Wayne Haddix, Jake Mathis. Class of 2015, Katie Feenster-Matera. Class of 2017, Richard Shelton, Dave Williams. Class of 2018, Frank Landry. And from last year's class, 2019, Mickey Page. Again, welcome to our current Liberty Hall of Fame members. Also have a couple of head coaches in the house as well. Current Liberty track coach Lance Bingham. And head men's basketball coach Richie McKay. All right, time now to get to our inductees, and the first one up is Larry Blair II. I'm going to be honest here. I've got a memory about Larry Blair that I would like to forget. Liberty fans would not like to forget this. Back in 2004, I was cutting my teeth as a radio broadcaster for High Point University. And for those of you that remember the 2004 Big South Championship, the Vine Center is still ringing in my ears. Larry had a phenomenal tournament in 2004, including a championship game that was tremendous, even on the seat that I sat at. And I'm so thankful now to be on the other side of that rivalry here with the Liberty Flames. And Coach McKay, you've done a phenomenal job continuing the tradition here of Liberty men's basketball. Before we hear from Damian Hubbard, teammate of Larry Blair, let's watch a little intro video to the exploits of Larry Blair II.
Larry Blair II remains one of the most prolific all-time scorers in Liberty men's basketball program history. Finishing his career with 2,211 points, Blair ranks second only to fellow Liberty Hall of Famer Carl Hess. In 2004, Blair was named the Big South Freshman of the Year. He also led the Flames with 29 points in the 2004 Big South Championship game, guiding Liberty to an NCAA tournament berth for the second time in school history. The Charlotte, North Carolina native is the only Liberty player to earn all Big South honors all 4 years of his playing career. Following his days at LU, Blair played professionally overseas for 11 seasons.
And here to present Larry Blair II, his former teammate, Damian Hubbard.
Great day to be a Flame. Ain't that right, Coach O? Good evening, everyone. It's an honor to be here today to celebrate my longtime friend, my roommate, my teammate, LB222, a.k.a. Larry Blair, his success in being named one of the most prolific all-time scorers and players in Liberty basketball history. I was told I only had 3 minutes max to present Larry with this award, and I wondered, how could I sum up Larry Blair in 3 minutes? But then I realized how appropriate 3 minutes was, considering this is about as much time we had driving from our apartment all the way by the hospital at 5:42 to get to 5:45 a.m. workouts. So where do I start? Larry is such a memorable player, and when most people who are already familiar with his stats, his highlights, his personality, his achievements. My family and I, we attend a lot of Liberty basketball games whenever we can get tickets. Shout out to you, Coach McKay. And despite the many talents that came and went, and the championships and the fans, will always remember Larry Blair. And I only know this because I'm always faced with, hey, didn't you play with Larry? How's he doing? I'm that guy. But in all seriousness, throughout the highlights, the wins, the losses, the individual success, The thing that stood out to me the most about Larry from the day I met him until now is his dedication. His dedication to show up for the 7-23 team, and his dedication to his family, the whole family. I mean, all of his family. I'm still meeting family to this day. His family is so big. One story, and I'm out of here. One of our asinine memories was when we was down to our last 3 minutes to get to media day. So he yells from his room, "Hey, you ready?" And then I yell from mine, "Yeah, I'm ready, let's go." So we both rush out of our rooms, and we're wearing the exact same thing. No, the exact same thing. And if you know Larry, you know his stubbornness. He ain't changing. And so we was late, so I couldn't change neither. So away we went. And if God hadn't riddled us with humor and competitive nature, it could have been very, very awkward. But we welcomed it as a challenge of who wore it better. And I knew from that day that we had worn off on each other and likely to be stuck together for a while. For the record, I did wear it better. But as far as analogies go, I appreciated the influence you have brought to my life, aside from fashion or lack thereof. And I'm fortunate to have had your influences and truly blessed for the positive impact that you've had on my life. Your passion, competitiveness, and humor were possibly your greatest gifts you share with the team on a daily basis. And I'm honored to be here today to celebrate your hard work and remarkable talent, albeit a small bet, a fraction of your achievements in life. He's an inspiration. He's that player, friend, the son, the brother, husband, and father. And tonight and forevermore, he is a member of the Liberty University Basketball Hall of Fame. It's with pride that I present to you Larry Blair.
Thanks, Damien. That wasn't too bad at all. We actually came close to dressing again once tonight. Glad it didn't happen. But just want to thank everybody for taking the time out to come tonight. It's a special moment for everybody who's getting inducted. Just want to thank God for allowing me to have the support that I had to reach this level of success that I'm at today. Definitely want to thank Liberty University for letting me have a place for 4 years to call home, from the professors to the athletic staff and the athletic department. It was great, a great experience that I could take for the rest of my life. Tim East, don't know where you're at exactly in here. There you are. Thank you for your diligence and your back and forth communication with me, because I know I had a lot of questions and a lot of requests. So thank you for allowing my family to making a way for my family to be here. To my parents, Mr. Blair, Larry Blair, the first, my mom, Jessie Blair, thank y'all for showing me what love is. Thanks for showing me what support is. Just thanks for being there at times when I was on the path to success. On this side, looking back, I had a rough time in the school system growing up, but I always had the support of my mom and dad that was there for me to keep me on track and keep me believing that no matter what's going on, I can right the ship. Speaking of support, my brothers, Ryan, Los, Sandor, thank y'all for being an inspiration for me, someone I can look up to with the many gifts that y'all possess. I just wanted to be just as good as y'all, if not better. Y'all gave me something to strive for. And to my sister Kelly, who's out there in New York, my sister Quita, my sister here in attendance, Clinton College own head coach Jessica Blair, thank you for always being to support me. If anybody know me, that's probably my #1 supporter out of anybody I've ever met. Your inspiration even right now, it drives me, because the woman you have become, the coach you are, the sister I have, I can't ask for no one better. So thank you for always having my back. My wife, Natalie, She was actually on the other side of our competition growing up. She went to Charleston Southern University, who was a rival of ours. But God brought us together back then and through the years, and she has been a real support system with me, for me. And she helped me bring my son, Larry Blair III, into the world. And I'm just beyond words just how blessed I am just to have you in my life. You too, Mr. Twa. To my nephews and nieces who here, Midori, Kaya, Lysandor, RJ, my nieces back home, I love y'all. I hope that this moment right here will have y'all understand as to why I'm always pushing, because I understand what support can do. You understand? So I love y'all. I love y'all back at home who's watching. My special family in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, Caldwell family. Camden Military Academy. I love y'all. Everybody in Camden, my family. Johnson family back at home. Blair family. Seegers, everybody. Taking back to Parkwood Church where I played in the church league that helped me grow with my relationship with Jesus, which is still with me today. My Charlotte Nets coaches and my teams, Coach Carey, Coach Chuck, like CMA, Coach Priest, and Coach Heflin, y'all too. My 2004 Liberty basketball team, thank y'all for helping me achieve this moment, because without y'all, maybe this moment not been here. I might not have been a champion without y'all. So I'm going to run this list. If I forget you, please charge it to the mind and not the heart. So we're going to go to Coach Dunton, Coach Davis, Coach Martin, Coach Chuck. Then we had Coach Sherrod, who came later, Coach Aiken, Ocone, Coach Jones, and Coach Leary, who was on that championship team. Thank y'all. My real good friend, who was another person who could have introduced me, Matt Olinger, thank you. Short information about Matt. This guy's responsible for helping me be prepared for a lot of games. Whenever I needed him to be there just to help me, he was there. He was there. So, Matt, thank you very much for being there. Coach McKay, thanks for extending out your arms to me as you took over the team after my last year. Thank you for, and congratulations on y'all's success. So I'm going to speed it up. So support is how I got here. And to support is to hold up or add strength, literally or figuratively. My family always held me up, whether I was doing right or doing wrong. So with my shortcomings growing up, there were times I couldn't, stay in school, like I said, and through it all I had the family support. There was times I couldn't make basketball teams because of my size. I still had my family support. There were times when I was in elementary school, no older than 10, my principal told me I wouldn't amount to nothing. He literally said this to a 10-year-old. So my family still was there to support me. Along the way, I had a lot of coaches outside of my family who encouraged and motivate me. My godparents as well. Right here, Mr. and Miss Paulton, thank y'all. I had so much outside support. And with all those negative people in my life, it lit a fire of rage in a positive way, because I was determined to not only show they were wrong, but to prove my supporters right. So I was driven, and I believed in myself, and just the support of my family what's my time at? Because I know I'm rambling a little bit, but just thank everybody over my 11 seasons. I had the support of my family, because it was hard being away from them. Especially when I had the addition of my son, it was a difficult time. So I had to find support, because I knew my mom, dad, sisters, brothers, sister-in-law, everybody would watch my son. So I knew he was in good hands, making me relax a little bit while I'm across the world. My family is everything that keeps me going. And so with our family, we reached an organization that reached and give back to our communities. We give back through our Team Blair organizations, back to school events. It's like our 7th summer. We didn't have it this year because of the pandemic, but we done had 6 or 7 summers where we give back just to motivate the next generation of people to come behind us to try to do what's right. And that's what I stand on. That's my principle I try to live by every day. And so I just want to leave this with everybody here. It's about support, because I'm a person who needed support just to get through to become the man I am today. I'm just asking everybody, wherever you can reach one, pull one, just support that person, whether it's a different gender, religious view, political view, whatever. We need to come together tonight as a whole and just work towards the greater good. And because I know that it goes a long way. So for those who may look like me, I ask y'all to support them as well, because if y'all could support your Hall of Famer, y'all can support those who look like me as well. And I'm really adamant in trying to just bring everybody together and just try to do what's right, because we can do it. We can do it. And just thank y'all for tonight. Thank you for this moment. And again, thanks to my parents. Y'all did a wonderful job, not only with myself, but my brothers and sisters and everybody. And so congratulations to everybody else who's coming up here tonight and receiving this award. And LU Flames for life. And keep the history going. Keep that flame lit. So thank y'all for y'all time tonight. And have a good evening. Thank you too, sir. Appreciate you.
No problem. And nobody crowd surfs better than you, Larry. Nobody crowd surfs better than you. 2004 championship. Want to welcome and say hello to Kelly Finley, men's soccer coach, who's in the house. We gave some shout-outs to our head coaches and didn't want to be remiss at saying hello to Kelly. So thank you for your service to what you do for our athletics program. Time now to talk a little track with Henry Elliott. Henry, I've really gotten a pleasure out of getting to know you the last couple of months. Henry and I spent some time on a Zoom call back in April, maybe May, and it's been really fun to catch up with you again here today. Henry told me it's been 31 years since he's been back on campus, since he competed here. And I asked him, why did it take so long to get back? And he said, you know what? I started a family, and I wanted to give back to my family. I had to do family stuff first before coming back. Well, welcome back, Henry. So we appreciate you and what you've done for the track program. And a little bit more on Henry Elliott. Let's check out the video boards to my left.
Henry Elliott made the most of his 3-year career with the Flames after transferring to Liberty following his freshman year. Elliott was a 2-time All-American first in 1987 with a 4th-place finish in the discus. He then became Liberty's first NCAA Division I men's All-American with a 7th-place finish in decathlon at the 1989 National Championship. That same year, Elliott won the decathlon at the Penn Relays. Liberty won the Mason-Dixon Conference indoor track titles all 3 years he was a member of the team, while claiming the outdoor titles in 1988 and 89. The Spivey's Corner, North Carolina native made the team's 100-point club in all 3 seasons and remains in the program's top 10 for 6 different events, more than 3 decades after graduation.
I also asked Henry, what was it and who was it that brought you here to Liberty? And we're going to hear from him a couple of times here tonight. Former track coach and legendary track coach, Brent Tolsman. Come on up, Brent.
I was thinking sitting out there that if I could be anywhere in the world tonight, there's nowhere else I'd rather be than here. I haven't seen Henry in, I think, over 25 years now. And he looks a little bit different, but pretty much the same. You know, at Liberty, we have an opportunity to coach some athletes that have really understand what they're here for and have a strong commitment to the Lord. And then we have opportunity to coach other athletes who don't quite have it figured out yet. And Henry was one of those kind. I lost a lot of hair over Henry. Henry was a tough, extremely talented, likable, loud, fun-loving, out-of-control young man. And I haven't met his wife yet because she came in a little later, but I thought she must be a saint. But he was better when you got him than when we had him. I could spend easily 3 hours telling you stories about Henry Elliott. But I recruited him from when I was at Campbell, from Spivey's Corners, North Carolina, which is only known for their pig hollering contest. And the winner of that used to be on Johnny Carson every year, so that's what they're known for. and it's just down the road from Campbell. He was a discus thrower. I think he threw 151 in high school, and a 400-meter runner who had run 49.7, but he had this big, strong body. I think he threw the shot 47 feet too. But he came to Campbell, and we started training when they got there. In November, we did his first decathlon. So that was with 7, maybe at least 6 events he had never done. He scored over 6,500 in his first decathlon. So this was a guy, he was so talented that had he stayed healthy and been focused, I really believe he could have won the Olympic Games. That's the kind of athlete he was. But then, the first thing I remember, Campbell was a little rough on him, especially when he totaled his friend's car and he crawled out through the broken windshield and survived that without too many injuries. But then not too much later, he tore his patellar tendon. And it was 95% torn, and they had to wire his kneecap back to, a wire through his kneecap to his patellar tendon to hold that thing together. So obviously decathlon kind of went away. And when, after 2 years, I came up here to Liberty, and he decided to come with me. At Liberty, he broke his nose pole vaulting. I wasn't there that time, though. I don't know, must have been suspended or something. I think Coach Bingham was there, so he... Yep, Appalachian State. He split open his shin. I remember I saw his shin bone. Yeah, it's he was on a path to self-destruction, that's for sure. But while he was healing from that torn patellar tendon and he couldn't jump, he did become a Division II All-American in the discus. I think maybe in the 4x4 as well. He scored 50 points in one of our Big South track meets by winning 3 events, a second and 2/3. He was just a great all-around athlete. And as he was coming into his senior year, I guess he did a decathlon again his junior year, and that's when you pulled your hamstring at Division II Nationals, I think. Yep, San Angelo. Yeah, I could tell you a story there too, but we'll skip that one. But he had a rough career, but he started coming back. So then his senior year, I'm like, okay, we can get to nationals this year. So the first meet, we went to Florida State. This will describe Henry. We go to Florida State, and he's doing pretty well. We get to the pole vault. He takes his first attempt, misses. Takes his second attempt, misses. His third attempt, he clears his opening height. Then we went, and he got a national qualifying score. Then we went to do the Penn relays, and he's doing well in that meet. We get to the discus second day, and he's warming up, throwing all his discuses out of the sector. And I said, Henry, come on, settle down. You got to get. He said, oh, don't worry about it, Coach. Don't worry about it. So first throw, he throws long throw way out there, out of the sector. So he comes over to me, and I say, Henry, and he says, don't worry, I got it, don't worry. Second throw, out of the sector. Then he comes over, he says, now I'm worried. I said, well, maybe you should just punch the last one, just stand there and punch, because if he got a mark, he was going to win the meet. And he said, no, I'll be fine. He goes in, he throws 158 feet right down the middle, wins the whole thing, wins the Penn Relays decathlon. So then we get to nationals. All right, we're to the 4th event on the first day, and he comes in the high jump at 5'8". He had now jumped 6'4" on this knee, not the other knee, but the knee with the wire in it. He had jumped 6'4", and his throws were great, his runs were great, his jumps were not that great because of that knee. But so he comes in at 5'8", first attempt, he misses. I'm like, oh boy. So he goes again, second attempt, he misses. He's got one attempt, and on the third attempt he cleared, but then he didn't go any higher. And he still got 7th at nationals. But that's what he was doing to me. I don't know if it was intentional or unintentional his senior year, but every time he says, well, he's been through this before, let me give him something else that's going to make him suffer. But for him, considering all the things he went to have become one of the best in the country was kind of surprising. But on the other hand, on one hand, I'm surprised what he did, and on the other hand, I'm surprised he didn't do so much more, because he definitely was a tremendous athlete. I don't think he ever really understood. At 6'5", 205 pounds, he ran the mile under 5 minutes. He split 47.3 on the 4x4. I saw him throw the discus in practice past the world record for decathlon one time. 182.10 it was. And it's like, that was Henry Elliott. But it certainly is a great privilege to give to you for your Hall of Fame the first Division I All-American at Liberty University, Henry Elliott.
Guys, I want to tell you I had this speech I written out, but Coach just stole my thunder. Everything he explained is actually in this speech, so I have nothing. And like you said, when we first met in high school, I think it was a high school coach, Harnett Central High School. His name was what, Coach Bell, I think, or Williams. And he told him about me, so he came down, and he visited me down at my mom's house. And he got to explaining how it would be a great decathlete. I didn't know what decathlete was. So he tried to explain it. So he said one name, Bruce Jenner. And everybody knew who Bruce Jenner was. I said, yeah, I think I can do that. So he had an athlete with him. His name was Orville Peterson. He made the Olympic trials that year. So the TV station did a documentary on Orville. And I said, Mom, that's the guy I'm going to be training with. So sad to say, or I should say I'm good to say, that I went to Campbell and we started training. So when I first got there, Coach had these crazy workouts. I mean, when I say crazy, we would do interval workouts, 1, 2, 4, 5 sprints. But he had 2 workouts. One was when he bought his motorcycle to track. I think he had, what, a Honda 750, Coach? Yeah, and he had an old Audi 4000 car. So when we leave the dorm and come out, we see what's on the track. We see that Honda sitting on the track, the motorcycle. We knew it was in trouble because we had to pull that motorcycle around that track at least 2 or 3 times. And Coach used to see him. He's on that motorcycle. He's got his helmet on. He's bearing down. And there's 2 of us. We're pushing. I mean, we're pulling this thing across the track. What was the interval workout? 1, 2, 4, 2, 4, 6. I can't remember what the workouts was, but it was 2 of us, one on one side, one on the other side. So he got 2 of us. That was we were actually doing about the same times as far as sprints goes. But today, I think Coach was holding back on us. I think every time we went around that track, he was pulling back on that brake so we could work a little harder. But anyway, that was great. That's one thing I remember. But like I said, he stole my thunder. Anyway, I'm kind of glad to be here tonight. Thankful. I thank the Lord to be here tonight. I see a few guys I remember, like Coach, Richard Shelton, I remember you. K.E., what's up, baby? I remember you. I talked to Mickey Page, Haddock, so some of the guys I remember. I saw Coach Williams over there, strength coach. I remember him. Thanks for being here, guys. Like I said, I won the pin relays in '89. I remember when the track was being built. And the story about that, when the track was being built, better yet, we left Campbell. I followed them over here. So we get here. And Campbell University had an old cinder track we sit around. What, it was 400-meter track. That's how we trained. I get here, we got nothing. So we had to go off the EC Glass or Heritage High School or the old abandoned warehouse to do our training. So when they built the stadium over there, it was building the track and field. I was kind of glad to see that because we actually had a place where we call home. But there again, Coach tells them, mastermind of getting in shape for meets, Candler Mountain Road. I remember it like it was yesterday. We used to have a track, a track practice where we had to run up Candler Mountain Road. Back in the day, there used to be a GE plant down there. I think you guys bought the building. He would make a mark down there. I think it was probably, 300-400 meters up the hill? And we had to run that just as hard as we could. That was a track practice, 3 of those at a time. But let me tell you, we got so good at it. There was cars come up beside us. We look at the cars, and we would actually pass the cars. That's how strong we got. But it was great. It was great. But anyway, enough of that. Like I said, in closing, guys, I'm done with all that because he stole my thunder. I just want to again thank the Lord for being here. And if it wasn't for him, there'd be no me, and this day wouldn't be unfolding before me. And I want to thank my mom. She couldn't be here today because of the COVID-19, but I want to dedicate this award to her. I want to thank my wife, Janetta, my kids, Lauren, Brittany, my grandbaby, Laurel, my brothers and sisters, James, my brother, Liz, my sister, Tab, my other sister. I want to thank you guys for being here and supporting me. And I want to say to my fellow inductees, congratulations. You make me know that I'm in great company with you guys, and I'm sure you guys are going to be as humble as I am. And with that said, go Flames. Thanks.
Congratulations, Henry. We've got some nice awards to my left and right that the inductees will be able to take home after the event, and the framed pictures as well. So some nice mementos of the evening here in the Hall of Fame. Moving right along, we're going to continue on with our track programs and talk about Andrea Wildrick Hampson, who holds more All-American honors than any female track and field athlete in Liberty history. Here's a little bit more on Andrea with the video screens to my left.
Andrea Wildrick Hampson owns more NCAA Division I All-America honors than any other female student athlete in Liberty track and field history. Hampson became the program's first ever female competitor to win All-America honors at the NCAA Division I level in 2000 with a 9th place finish in the pole vault at the Outdoor National Championship. She also earned All-America honors in the same event in 2002 at the National Indoor Championship and again at the Outdoor Championship. The Mechanicsville, Virginia native was a 3-time member of Liberty's 100-Point Club and joins fellow Liberty Hall of Famer Heather Sagan-Zeeland as one of the program's 2 female performers with a top 2 finish at a Division I National Championship.
And here to present Andrea, please welcome back up Brant Tolsma.
If you would have been at a team meeting in the winter or spring of 1999, and you had come up after the meeting and said to me, there were 2 girls sitting on your team there that are going to finish first or second in the nation when they're seniors, I would have said, what? Who? And if you said, guess which 2, I probably would have not come around to these, to Heather, who was a national champion in the Hall of Fame already, and Andrea until several guesses. They both are really stories of what God can do with willing hearts. I remember the first time that I met Andrea. I'm pretty sure it was at the outdoor track, and she came out, I'd say it was either late October or early November, and she came out and said, told me that she was a transfer from Radford. She had been a gymnast for all her life, and she didn't like the program at Radford or the school that much, so she transferred to Liberty that had no gymnastics. And she was doing nothing. You can imagine going from training 4 or 5 hours a day to doing nothing. And so she wanted to do something, and she thought, maybe track. Can I give track a try? So the genius that I am, I thought, oh, she'll make a good pole vaulter. No, that's not true. Obviously, a gymnastics background. We tried her in the high jump and the pole vault, and I think she went 5 feet in the high jump, so we kind of gave that up after a while. But in the pole vault, she started showing promise quickly. I remember in her first meet, which was probably only a couple weeks after, because it was before Christmas, a couple weeks after she came out, she cleared 7 feet in the pole vault. And then in her last meet, which was 4 years later, 4 years later, she cleared 14.3 1/4 and got 4th at the USA National Championship. Had it been an Olympic year, the top 3 go to Olympic Games. So that's the level that she attained in that 4 years of training. She was kind of a coach's dream sort of athlete because she was focused. She was very disciplined from her gymnastics background. She knew how to work hard. We didn't even have to teach her that. She was relatively fearless, and she seemed very comfortable in Liberty's environment. So even though we had changed, Coach Bingham coached her at first quite a bit, and then when he left to go to South Plains, Todd Pettyjohn took over and coached her, but she made the transition very smooth because she was very focused. She also had very good support from her family. And she just kept getting better and better. After that 7-foot clearance in the first meet, I think she went 11 at the end of that year at the ECAC championship and got on a 14-foot pole. And I remember talking with Coach Bingham and saying, you know, she might go 12-something next year. And then when she did that, and then 13 and then 14, and it was really fun to just kind of watch her develop. And she still holds the school record now, almost 20 years later, both indoors and out at Liberty. So it's with great pleasure that I introduce you to you, Andrea Wildrick Hampson.
Hi, everybody. So I'm going to start with telling you a story. It was probably Jeff Alder, because I think he was the academic advisor, but he told me, it was my junior year, that if you do not take your speech class, then you're not going to be eligible to compete next year in track. Because it was like on that list of classes that you like have to take before you like move on or something. I was clearly delaying it. So you guys have me up here in high heels and doing this public speaking thing, but I'm gonna make it through. So it is such an honor to be here though. Thank you to the selection committee and to just all of Liberty and all of the track people that and the track teams that I was involved in, all the track team members. During my time here, everybody was influential on my success, for sure. And I just want to take the time to just mention a few people individually. First, I want to talk about the coaches. My actual pole vault coaches at Liberty were Coach Bingham and Coach Pettyjohn. Coach Bingham, obviously an amazing coach. You guys picked a good one to come back here and take over the program. He coached me from the very beginning. As Coach Tolsma said, I had never stepped foot on a track before coming to Liberty. So he coached me literally from the ground up. So pretty amazing. That it takes a good coach, right? I learned very quickly as I went to track meets, and pole vault has just a little bit of danger in there that not all coaches were created equally. So, especially pole vault coaches. So God's hands were definitely in just this whole thing that came about. He knew that I was supposed to be here at Liberty and that I was supposed to be a part of this team. And then he took me on. The next 3 years, we kind of developed into this kind of whole women's pole vault program. It started with me and kind of one other girl. And then he took me from 11 feet to 12 feet to 13 feet, and it was just an amazing time. And then he left, and Coach Pettyjohn came, and I was a little upset at first, gotta admit, a little upset. But little did I know that Coach Pettyjohn was going to come in, and he was also an amazing track athlete at Liberty, and he really took me to that next level, and we just had an amazing year. I cleared that 14-foot barrier that year, and it was an awesome time. A couple other people I would like to point out were some of the track athletes that I trained with. One of them was Liz Robertson Lawson. She was the female pole vaulter when I came on the team, and she kind of set the stage for what it means to be dedicated and work hard. She just like accepted me with open arms. I remember the first time I was out, the first day I was out there, I think it was the first day or the first week, they said, okay, we're going to do like the running workout now. So it was a 300, a 200, and a 100. And you're like, okay, like a 300 is not even like one whole time around the track. I couldn't make it to the end of the 300. Like I was sprinting and I had to stop and walk the rest of the way. And I was like, they're not going to want me to come back. But I did not once feel like any of the coaches, I did not once feel like they never wanted me, that they didn't want me to be there. I mean, they just welcomed me with open arms from the start until the very end. So that was Liz. I was with her the first three years that I was on the track team at Liberty. So she really kind of set the foundation for success. And then another track team member I'd like to point out was Danelle Jacray Earl. She was influential in kind of, I'm more of like a shy, introverted person. She kind of pulled me out of my shell, and she just really became a great friend. And she also kind of showed me the ropes in the weight room. I mean, I was a gymnast. I did all body weight exercises, and she kind of taught me how to lift. And we would do like her high school workouts. And I mean, these coaches were so busy. It was just a different time 20 years ago, for sure. She was a roommate and just a special friend. And then, of course, I want to thank my family. They are the biggest supporters and have always been throughout my athletic career. My sister, Adri, she was my roommate my whole entire time at Liberty, and she actually came back to Liberty when I came to Liberty, and I really, wasn't sure about this new journey I was going to be on. I had quit the sport that I had known for so long. Like gymnastics, is one of those sports you practice 3 hours a day, and she came back with me, and we kind of did this thing called life for 4 or 5 years here in Lynchburg, and she was like my #1 fan and was just so excited about my success and would follow me around to the meets and everything. And then the most important, of course, people I want to thank are my mom and my dad. Being a gymnast, it's a lot of financial constraints, time constraints, and they supported me 100% the whole way. It was actually my mom that said, "Why don't you go try track?" And it was one of those things in high school. I think one of the track coaches at one point was like, "You should come out and try to run. You seem pretty, fast in gym." But I couldn't do it because of time constraints, and she encouraged me. I mean, that's way out of my comfort zone. Nothing I would, ever do without that support and encouragement from my parents, and they supported me 100% throughout all my years in athletics. So once again, just thank you. Thank you guys for having me here. This is such a special time. And I also want to give a shout out to my kids who are with my sister here in town. I have a 7-year-old boy, and his birthday is tomorrow, is Caden. And then Lindley, too, she's 4. So hi, guys, wherever you are. They're watching me from afar. And then thank you to my husband for supporting me and being here and kind of taking me on my whole kind of second half of my life adventure away from athletics and being a wife and a mom and a nurse, and doing life with me. Thank you.
Congratulations, Andrea. Welcome to the Hall of Fame. We're going to shift now and talk a little football and talk about former head coach Morgan Houdt. I met Coach back in 2010. For those of you that remember, Williams Stadium was undergoing some renovations back in 2010. The very first game that I did with Liberty was at City Stadium that a lot of us know very well. And we kind of had a throwback game back in 2010 against St. Francis. And Kevin Keys, who's here today, helped bring in some former coaches. And we thought, let's throw back to a number of head coaches. And we had Morgan on at halftime, and I've always enjoyed talking ball with you, Coach, so congratulations. And time now to hear a little bit more about Morgan and his exploits as our former head football coach.
Morgan Houdt was a pioneer and the visionary head coach that guided Liberty's football program through the transition from NCAA Division II into the Division I era. Houdt led the program from 1984 to 88, where he coached 11 All-Americans and recruited 11 players who went on to play in the NFL, including the 2 highest draft picks in school history. The Marietta, Georgia native led Liberty to an 8-3 record in the team's first year at the NCAA 1AA level in 1988 and finished the year ranked 18th nationally. Houdt was named the 1988 Bassett Coach of the Year and Bobby Ross Coach of the Year.
Morgan also shared a story with me. One of the first hires he made was his strength coach, Dave Williams. Dave was an Aggie land at Texas A&M, and Coach Houdt was able to bring Dave up here, who transcended what Liberty was doing from a strength and conditioning standpoint. And Coach shared a story with me during our interview today that Dave was so good that when he got here, he not only worked with football, but women's basketball and so on and so on. And Dave is here today to introduce and induct and help present Morgan Houdt. So let's bring up former strength coach and legendary strength coach here, Dave Williams.
I don't know how legendary I am, especially after this talk here. I'm not much of a speaker, guys, and I'm as nervous as anything right now. I watched my brother, Coach Tolsmo, down here just go on and on and on about so many different things, and I thought, man, I don't even know that kind of stuff. How can I say it? I know how I feel about Morgan Houdt. I know what we did together, but to convey it to you folks, I don't know if I can do that. So I'll look at my notes a little bit here, and I'll just be here just a few minutes because I want to give him a lot of time tonight. When Coach Houdt arrived at at Liberty in 1984, he faced a very struggling football program. We didn't know where we were going or what we were doing. And the next year even got almost worse. We had a flood that wiped out our whole program. And we had to start from scratch. And I did that with him. Art Williams came along and made a big donation that helped us a whole lot. And I'm always grateful to him. I think it was about a $200,000 weight room he put together. Now, in those days, you could put a lot of weights in a weight room with $200,000. Today, you get a few barbells and a Nautilus machine or something, and you're done. But he built a Hancock Athletic Center and outfitted a weight room for us. And with the new weight room and renewed enthusiasm and the willingness to work hard, we made great gains, and our players' minds and hearts were changed dramatically. I was working down there with them on Treasure Island in 1984. In the summer, I wasn't working with the football team up here, but we go to staff meetings at Treasure Island, and we come back up here on the mountain where our little weight room was, and I had 3 or 4 players that wanted to come in early or were going to summer school trying to be eligible, and I'd work with them, and that was it. That was my day. And I felt I had to back up to get paid. You know, I don't know if it was, or actually I probably didn't because they didn't pay much in those days. I hoped I could say something to make somebody laugh, but I wasn't even thinking about that. But under Dr. Falwell and Coach Houdt as our leaders, the strength program grew and grew, and the football program grew. And I had the backing 100% of Coach Houdt, and I could never make anything happen as a strength coach without him. Coach never doubted me, and I never doubted him. And Coach was really diligent in hiring the staff that he got together. We had a great staff. I could name a lot of guys, but I might miss somebody. I had everything on a piece of paper, and I left it at home. But all the coaches that he hired were just godly men, and if they weren't godly men when they were hired, they became godly men. We had 2 of our coaches that year that became Christians that thought they were Christians. That was something, when people came to Liberty, they had to make a profession of faith. You had to give your testimony. And later on, you had to back up and say, I'm sorry. I thought I was saved, but I really wasn't, and now I am. And it happened to so many people. That first year, we had about, how many people was it? Not the first year, but in 88, we had 79 people. 29 people saved. I'm going to get exaggerated. 29 players got saved that year, and 2 coaches. And these coaches claimed to be Christians and thought they were. But the conviction came onto them, and then they realized, I'm really not a Christian, and I want to be. I want what you guys have. I'm not going to go on and on about this, but the spiritual emphasis has always been tremendous on the football program under Coach Hought. And I'm not sure if it's like that on every coach, but I'm not worked with all of them like I did with him. And so proud to have been a part of his staff and see people come to Christ. That's what Liberty football was about in those days, was seeing people come to Christ. And we would pass out gospel tracts after the ball games and witness to people, and people would be on the sidelines after the game with an opponent praying. It was amazing. And I'd like to see that happen again. But we'll be praying about that. I want to let Coach Hought have all the time he can. I could just rattle on up here, but I don't have my notes with me. I left them at home. But my wife was listening to me, and she said, "You're talking too much about what you did at football and not what Coach Hought did." So I said, I'm not going to stop. I'm going to stop doing that and let him come up here. Coach, come on up here and rescue me, man. He's my head coach, he's my friend, and he's my brother in Christ, and I love him to death. He's an awesome brother. Glad you folks get to hear him. We're both a little wobbly these days. It comes from working so hard. Both of us are wobbly today, man.
Good, thank you. Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to this part of Liberty University. And we hope you're having a good time. I'm not going to stand up here and bore you to death. You know, they told me I had 8 minutes, and I could take the whole 8 minutes, probably twice that, just saying thank you to everybody. And I loved Liberty University. I still do. I loved it with all my heart. And it was a great honor for me to coach here. And but before I go too far, I need to thank one special person in my life. She's been my girlfriend for almost 60 years. And we went steady all through high school. Then we were engaged for, 3 years, 4 years in college. And she's still my girlfriend today. She's the best friend I've ever had. And I could not be even standing up here if it weren't for her. We got into coaching in a tough way. I went to the University of Maryland with Coach Jerry Claiborne, who is in the National Football Hall of Fame, a great football coach. And when we left Maryland 6 years later to go to the University of Richmond, I felt like I had a doctorate in coaching college football. Coach Claiborne was the greatest football coach I'd ever met in my life. And he understood the game. And what he used to do with us as a staff, twice a year, in the fall before our kids came back in, and then in the spring before we started spring practice, we would always meet as a staff. And one of the tough things, it was tough back then till I started doing it with our staff here, was each coach had to coach his position in front of the rest of the staff. Now you talk about pressure. When I was at Maryland, we had a great staff. They were true professionals. They knew everything that you could know about coaching football, especially their position. And I remember I used to take notes, copious notes. You'd be surprised that I knew that word, didn't you? But I used to take copious notes of everything that they said, even how to block. I used to have in my offensive playbook how each block was to be executed. And I didn't write it just to write it. I wrote it so I could learn it, because one of these days I wanted to be like Coach Claiborne. He was a strong Christian. He loved God, and he loved those kids. And so, I was just so blessed to start out my coaching career at the University of Maryland. And as I say, Coach was a strong Christian. We used to go to work anywhere between 6 and 7 on Sunday morning, but we would turn the film off in time to go to church. And we'd go to church. And our kids saw us in church. And that was so very important to them and to me. And so but this is a very important thing to me. I want you to know and understand, this is a big deal. This is a huge deal. And I see a couple of my players back there, Richard and Kelvin. Where's Wayne? And Mickey Page. There you go. And Mickey's from Rustburg. And he played linebacker for us. And one of the things you always knew about Mickey Page, when he hit somebody, they knew it, and we knew it. And I used to talk all the time and use the phrase, play like Christians. Well, what does that mean? You go out there and lay down, let a guy hit you, run over you? No, we want to go out there and knock them down, because that's the way the game was supposed to be played. And that's how we would get respect as Christians, by going out there and whipping them. And so anyway, these guys were great players, and they're all in the Hall of Fame, and not because I coached them, but, they're here. So I'm so proud of them, every one of them. Now, Richard's a little bit special. Richard's a Marietta boy. We're both Blue Devils. And he played a few years after me. But one of the things I'll always remember about playing at Marietta High, the first time I ever touched a football at Marietta High in Norcutt Stadium, I ran 65 yards for a touchdown. Now, I don't look like it today. I don't even know if I could crawl 65 yards these days. But anyway, and I loved being a Blue Devil. It was important to me to be a Blue Devil, right, Richard? And we won the national championship last year, had a great team. I'm not going to tell you about this year's team. We're struggling a little bit. But anyway, it was a joy to me to coach a fellow Blue Devil. And but this is not the most important thing that's ever happened in my life. The first most important thing that happened to me was the night I found Jesus Christ as my personal Savior. That's the most important thing that ever happened to me. And I don't mind telling you that. And so the second most important thing was that young lady sitting down here at this table. I don't know how I talked her into marrying me, but, like I say, even a blind squirrel finds an acorn every now and then. And so, but she's been great to me. You talk about tough people, she's a tough person. And her name now is Dr. Brenda Howe. She earned her PhD last year. And, neither one of us are spring chickens, you know what I'm saying? And so for her to do that is just impress the fire out of me. And so, but she's a great one. And she was a great coach's wife. She loved these kids that we coached. And we had them over to our house a lot. And she loved them. And I loved them. Still do. But then the next best thing that ever happened to me was that young man right there named Jonathan, and that young lady behind him, her name is Morgan. Now, I don't know how in the world she got that name, but her mama was responsible for that. She wanted to name her kids after me, so I am Morgan Jonathan. So there's Morgan Jonathan over there. And I so much love my kids. You know, I'm so proud of them. And they found Christ at an early age. And, you know, they know what that means. And so, you know, I already talked about coaching with Coach Jerry Claiborne at the University of Maryland. And I was so blessed to be there. And as I say, most kids come into coaching by the way of graduate assistant. Well, I'll tell you the secret. There are no graduate assistants. There are coaches that just don't get paid as much. And, you know, so I loved doing that. And in 6 years serving Coach Claiborne in the Maryland Terrapins, I loved every minute of it. But you know what? Before even that, in 1973, can anybody remember 1973? I barely can. But there was a coach named Coach Lee Rock Royer. I heard him speak one day, and I fell in love with him. He was up here on stage. He climbed up on the table and did push-ups and sit-ups and ran across the stage because he took that scripture seriously about our bodies, preparing our bodies to run the race. And I learned that from him. But he, in 73, was the first head coach here at Liberty. I don't know if any of you really realize, but I didn't come here in 1985, 84 is when I came here. But I was part of this Liberty family in my heart in 1973. I was on the sideline the first game Liberty ever won. I was there on the sideline with Coach Royer. He invited me up. And so I knew about Liberty football before I got here. And my only goal in life, I believe God put it there, God called me to this place, was to be the head coach at Liberty University. That's all I ever wanted to do. I didn't care about coaching at the University of Georgia. Would I have liked to have coached down there? Yeah. And I coached at several other places, but I was just biding my time until God opened the door here. And I felt like I was called here to be the head football coach. And you know, in my experiences at other places, I coached at the University of Richmond with a man named Dal Sheely. Coach Sheely was at one time the president of FCA. He left Richmond to be the president of FCA. And I don't know how much about that y'all know, but I'm going to tell you, if Coach Sheely had not gone to the FCA would have gone under a long time ago. He's a man that loved God, and he was a great football coach, and he taught me a lot about offensive theory. And so that's part of my background. And when we got here in 74, we had a skinny little old kid. You saw him over there. number 15. He was our quarterback, and he could throw the football. He's one of the few college athletes I've ever seen that could be on the left hash and throw an out to the right hash. And, you know, he really knew how to throw the football, and he was smart. But Phil was our first quarterback that got us going. He led the nation in passing. And then Freddie Banks, who's not here tonight, I thought he was going to be able to be here, but he couldn't make it. Fred was the second leading receiver in America. The first player ever to be drafted by Liberty University was Fred Banks by the Cleveland Browns. Then after a couple years, he went down to the Miami Dolphins and finished his career catching passes with Dan Marino. How'd you like to do that? And he was a good one. And then we had a young man named Kelvin Edwards, who's sitting right back there, he was the first player ever to participate in a college all-star game, the blue-gray game in Montgomery, Alabama. They don't have that game anymore. It's a shame. It's a good game. It was. But, and he was drafted by the New Orleans Saints. And the first time he touched the ball, correct me if I'm wrong, Kelvin, he caught a punt and took it back to the house for how many yards? 60? Well, I beat you by 5. But anyway, it was just a joy and a pleasure to coach these guys. I thank my lucky stars. I don't believe in luck. I thank God every day that he put Kelvin Edwards and Richard Shelton and Mickey Page and Wayne Haddix in my life. Wayne was a free agent, right, Wayne? With the New York Giants. Then he went to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and next thing you know, he's in Hawaii playing in the Pro Bowl game. A kid from Liberty University. First one I ever heard of being in the Pro Bowl from Liberty. Maybe I'll find out I'm wrong. But, I'd like to thank Kevin Keys for me being up here. And Kevin, he was here back in the dark times, back in where it was tough. You know, I remember one time we were out recruiting, got a call from the business manager saying, "Hey, Coach, hate to tell you this, but we need you to come back in. We ran out of money. We don't have any more money." So we got in our cars and came back. And but the Lord blessed it anyway. We recruited some great players here. And but there was 2 guys that came that the Lord sent our way that really helped us over the hump. One of them was named Jimmy Thomas. The other was Dan Rieber. And they ran a printing operation, and they came through for us just as we were stepping into Division I. And just tell you a couple things they did. Number one, we went down to play Central Florida in the Orlando Citrus Bowl, I think they called it then. And so what they did is they ponied up for plane tickets for us to fly to Orlando. In all the other games, we were riding on the bus for 14, 15 hours. And that's really not conducive to playing a football game. And you feel like you've already played one when you get off. And a guy named Dan Rieber. And what I was trying to do here, and I'll be done here in just a minute, I promise. But when we first got here, we would have to go down to the island in the middle of the James River to practice. And you got to want to play football to go down there and practice in the middle of the James River. It's the gnat capital of America. And had a few mosquitoes to go along with it. And but our kids were so wonderful. Our kids just did that without even thinking about it. And we so much appreciate that. We tried to, we would sell them on the fact that we're going to be in that stadium like that you see sitting out there. We sold that in our recruiting. We sold the fact we would go to bowl games. And I'm so blessed to have been able to be in Orlando, Florida last December when the Flames played in their first bowl game and beat Georgia Southern. And that was a pretty awesome experience. And I was so glad and so thrilled to have been a part of bringing it to that point, and our staff. And but they bought us food. They buy us steaks every Monday. Anybody remember that? Wayne, you remember that? And then they would also bake us a cake when we won. And before that, we would, when we were down at the island, we would be down at the island, practice, let them get showered up, and then put them on a bus back up here to campus. And most of the time, by the time we got back, there wasn't much food left. There were sandwiches, peanut butter and jelly sandwiches to be exact, and, leftovers. But we worked with it, and it was called Saga back then. Anybody remember Saga? I never did know what that meant. But anyway, and so Jimmy Thomas and Dan Rieber ponied up some money so we could feed our kids. And this is all part of the growing pains. And you know what? I didn't complain about it. I knew that's the way it was, and we were gonna line up and win anyway, and didn't worry about it. And but these are just some of the people, and I could go on and on for the next hour talking about the people that helped us in this program. And if you were one of those, I'm eternally grateful. And I know that those 4 young men back there are grateful too. And, there's a song that I've been hearing the last few days by Jesse Dixon. Anybody know who Jesse Dixon is? Yeah, he's with the Gaither Vocal Band or whatever they call themselves now. And he used to sing this song, I can't even walk unless you hold my hand. He was singing it to Jesus. And, that's the way I felt. I couldn't have walked these last few years. I can't walk now. But if Jesus had not held my hand. And, I'm going to do something here that I've never done before in my life. So y'all are the inaugural group. And there's a song that's very, very meaningful to me. It goes like this. When peace like a river attendeth my way, when sorrow like sea billows roll, whatever my lot, thou hast taught me to say, it is well with my soul. And that's the way I felt about Liberty University. It is well with my soul. And I so much appreciate the opportunity that I've had to be here at Liberty. And I see a lot of people out there that I know who you are. I may not recall your name right now, so I can't recall my own name a lot of times. But I would love to say hello to you, shake your hand, even if we have to do the old elbow bump or whatever. And but I just really appreciate y'all coming. And I know you had a lot of other things you could have done, but it's so meaningful to me to have you sitting here and honoring all of our inductees and to honor university, the Liberty University. And one of the things that the key verse to our program, our last year here, was, "He who honors me, him will I honor." And so we wanted to make sure that we were going to honor God with our program, and we did that. And we won some games that a lot of folks thought we shouldn't have, but, you know, I let God handle that. I just coached them as well as I could. And thank you so much for being here and paying attention, and I hope I didn't bore anybody.
Congratulations, Coach. Welcome to the Hall of Fame. Yep. A couple more inductees here tonight. We're going to be talking some men's soccer with Samuel Johnson. Had a great time chatting with Samuel earlier today. And to be here in the mid-'80s playing soccer, that was the hot ticket, according to Sam Johnson. I really enjoyed hearing some of his stories on when he got here playing with Paul Annan and a quartet of guys you talked about that was really brought Liberty soccer to the forefront. So we look forward to hearing from you, Samuel, coming up in a minute. But now let's hear from your teammate. And before we do that, some of your exploits on the video board.
Samuel Johnson is one of the most decorated players in Liberty men's soccer history, joining fellow Hall of Famer Paul Annan as the program's only other two-time All-American. Johnson was the second Liberty player to earn All-America honors, doing so at the NCAA Division II level in 1985 and 86. As a defender, Johnson led the Flames in scoring in the 1985 year with 10 goals and 2 assists for 22 points as a junior. Liberty finished the season with a 14-2-3 record and advanced to the semifinals of the Virginia State Intercollegiate Tournament. The Ghana native helped the Flames post 27 shutouts during his 3 seasons. Liberty had 12 shutouts in 1985, setting a new program record that was only matched in 2009.
And one of those pictures, it was standing room only for the soccer match. So true words from Samuel Johnson. We'll hear from Samuel coming up in it. Please welcome his former teammate, Paul Annan.
Good evening. It is an honor and a privilege to be here once again, this time to introduce my brother and my friend, Dr. Sam Johnson. Sam and I grew up in the different parts of Ghana. He was from the Western region, and I was from the Greater Accra region. Both of us represented the high school and the junior national teams. And when we were together, we were talking about college. Sam came to Liberty during my second year. According to Coach Bell, the team went to Florida for a preseason tournament. And after one of the games, the players decided they were going to swim. Sam was at the shallow end, walking back and forth. So Coach got a little concerned, went to the pool, knelt down, asked him, "Sam, is anything wrong?" He said, and whispered to Coach, "Yes, I can't swim." During my time here, I noticed that when we're playing against different colleges, they more treat our forward line players badly. So I devised a Christian manner to retaliate. And the retaliation was, whenever there was a corner kick against us, and I knew the ball was going out of bounds, I would jump into the air and give the opponent players that is within my area a hard Christian knock. And whenever they fell, I give them a hand, helping hand, and most of the time they turn around and insulted me by saying, "You Christian." And that to me was a compliment. And then it made me feel very good. We were playing against Eastern Mennonite College, and they were roughing our players back and forth, and I was looking for an opportunity to retaliate. Fortunately for me, they had a corner kick, and when they kicked the ball, and I jumped to deliver my message, Sam brought his head in the way, and I hit him so hard, and when I gave him my hand, I was looking for the compliment. He turned around and said in African, "Wa Boudin," which means, "You are crazy." When I turned around to go to the goalpost, I said to myself, when I'm looking for the enemy, don't break your head over there. After that, whenever we had a game and there was a corner kick, Sam stood by the goalpost. He didn't come into my area because he didn't want another message. Sam loved the Lord, loved his family, very respectful, determined, and a go-getter. Sam was one of the pioneers for the Liberty Soccer program. He was one of the strong pillars in the defense. He made my job very easy. He was not able to play in his fourth and final year because of injury, but because his GPA was very good, he was awarded academic scholarship. After Liberty, Sam went on to medical school and eventually achieved his goal as a doctor of osteopathic. Ladies and gentlemen, with affection and a special sense of pride, I present to you Dr. Samuel Finn Johnson of 2020 Liberty University Hall of Fame inductee.
Good evening. Greetings from the great state of Arizona. Thank you, Paul, for that kind introduction. But everything he said about that punch in my head was true. But it wasn't just once, though. It was multiple times. And he knows why, though, because for those of you who don't know anything about soccer, the goalkeeper is in charge of what we call the 6 yards. So any ball that comes within that area, that is his job. So whether he knows that I'm going to clear the ball or head the ball away, he also wants to make sure that the ball doesn't go past him. But because if it does, that's his fault. So him trying to protect his little area, there was a lot of friendly fires that came my way. I appreciate that, Paul. Thank you again for that kind introduction. Glory be to God, and thank God for his goodness and mercies. I would like to congratulate all the other inductees in the class of 2020. I am honored to be a member of this class and the Liberty Hall of Fame team. When I received a call from the selection committee about my nomination, honestly, I was in shock and was lost of words. I remember being speechless for a little bit, and then I said, wow. That followed by excitement with my heart pumping really hard. The first person I called of course, was my very good friend, Paul Annan, who was also equally excited, but I had a feeling he probably had a prior knowledge because he had called me a day earlier requesting that I should answer calls coming from the school, and it was all good. The next important person that I called was legendary Coach Bill Bell, my mentor, and he rejoiced with me over the phone. Coach and I spoke for almost an hour, and I asked him then if he could introduce me today. Coach accepted without hesitation, but unfortunately, he could not make it today. Thank you, Coach. I hope you probably live streaming this program. I know the selection committee had a challenging task. I'm grateful to you for deciding that my contribution at Liberty Soccer program were noteworthy enough to be selected as a Hall of Fame member. I say thank you. My journey to Liberty started far away from the shores of Ghana, West Africa. Soccer was and still the most popular sport in my native country. As a young boy growing up, I wanted to play the beautiful game to the highest level. The competition was intense. However, my parents did not want me and my siblings to indulge in playing soccer all the time, but to spend more time on our schoolwork and studies. To avoid detection of playing soccer by my parents, my friends and I came up with a scheme. We would travel to other communities and play with other kids. For those of you who don't know too much about, African, soccer, we don't have a lot of good fields like here. There's no grass. It's gravels, it's sand, it's clay. So we'll go and play against those kids in the other neighborhood. And we did pretty good, but there was always a problem because our feet, our faces, and our clothes always got dirty. That means, you come home, somebody's going to recognize what you did. So after doing that for a while, we came up with a very clever idea. Maybe we take off our clothes, wear just our underwear, play the game, and then after that, we wash our faces and hands, and then put on our clothes. But that didn't work out so good either. Parents always have a good way of keeping up with us, and they did. I never gave up playing soccer. I played on Little League teams, middle school, high school team, regional selection team, then National Academicals, which would be equivalent to All-American status. This great game gave me an opportunity to attend Liberty University. How did I get to Liberty University, you might ask? Let me tell you the story and the journey. Paul Annan and I had been friends, friends and teammates playing soccer in Ghana. Paul had an opportunity to attend Liberty on a soccer scholarship. I was very happy for Paul, my good friend. I had no idea that Paul would be my intermediary to travel to the United States. God really moves in a mysterious way. One day, I received a call from a mutual friend who had an urgent message from Paul to contact him ASAP. After trying a couple of days to reach Paul, finally got a chance to speak to him. Paul asked if I wanted to come to the U.S. to play soccer and attend university. I thought it was a joke then. Then the conversation became more serious. My answer to him was yes, but still skeptical. I said to myself, how am I going to get there, let alone pay my fees? I knew my parents could not afford it. Coach Bell got involved in the conversation and the correspondence, and that added more legitimacy to the whole proposal. After communicating with Coach Bell, for a while. He asked me to apply to Liberty University and was awarded a 4-year athletic scholarship to attend Liberty. Coach never met me. He just did that on a leap of faith. And also the word from my good friend Paul. And I don't think we did disappoint him. I applied, I got a 4-year scholarship, and then in 1984, I started my athletic career in education at Liberty. Playing soccer at Liberty was fun and challenging. We played against powerhouse programs like University of Virginia, University of District Columbia, University of Alabama, Huntsville, Radford University, James Madison, to name a few. I really enjoyed playing against, especially UVA, because to me, they were the mark. If you can play against UVA and beat them, that means your program has arrived. We tried on a few occasions. We came short, but we earned their respect each time. But I really was very confident that if UVA had left Charlottesville and come here to Liberty Mountain, I was that confident that we could have beaten them. We really had a very confident bunch. Our team were very confident. The 4 of us, David Annan, Paul Annan, late Edward Tete, and myself. We were very complementary to each other. We knew how the game was played well. So as long as all 4 of us were playing, we really had a chance to win each time. We won a lot of games. We went to playoffs. We were robbed, in our opinion, several times. But because we're from Liberty, we thought. Because the ranking came out one time and we were 4th on the list. And then we played against Lynchburg College, and then all of a sudden we went from number 4 to number 22. And they didn't make we didn't make it to the playoffs. That's how prejudiced, those guys were then. But it was a lot of fun playing soccer at Liberty. I think in our time, soccer became one of the favorite spots on campus. And we also had our number 1 supporter, late Dr. Jerry Privo Sr. He was always at our game to cheer us on. Coach Bell had a vision to get this program on a very high level. He wanted our program to be the best in the state and beyond. I was very determined to help in any way that I could to help the program succeed. I had an injury that ended my career in my junior year. I had surgery, my left knee. I worked very hard to try and get back on the team. Some of my good friends, athletes, Paul, Kelvin, Shelton, you guys know what I'm talking about. It was difficult, but I worked so hard. I thought I was close, but I could not make it. And one morning, I was summoned to Coach Bell's office. I was terrified, very uncertain about my future on the soccer team and my education. Being a foreign student, I have no family, had no financial support and no connection. You know what that means. So Coach sat me down. He looked at me. I could tell that he wasn't very happy about what he was going to tell me. I really had very bad feeling. Coach told me that he could not afford to give me a scholarship to continue. I was in tears. I was very sad. And after we sat there for a while, he took me down to the president's office. I believe it was Dr. Pierre Gilliman at that time. We went there, we had a meeting. If I recall, the meeting lasted for probably about 30 minutes. And after the meeting, Dr. Gilliman went through my record, and he turned to me and said, well, looks like you've done very well playing soccer and your academics. So I'm sure we can offer you academic scholarship. I was very happy. My sadness and tears turned into joy and happiness. That was the greatest moment of my life here on campus. I knew then that I would be able to continue my education and to fulfill my future. I didn't even know what that future was. It wasn't all about going on to become a doctor, no. That was not even in my line of thought. I was very grateful to Liberty University, especially the late Dr. Jerry Privo, Sr., for making my dreams possible. Liberty University made an impact on my life. They also gave me all the tools that I needed to go out there and make a career for myself and my family. The education here was unbelievable, and it made all the difference. And I was able to compete with other students from other great universities. And that's how I made it to medical school. Very grateful to the school, very grateful to a lot of mentors, very grateful to my professors, a lot of friends that I made here on campus. I was very grateful to all the input and all the support that I received. To my late parents, Charles and Georgina, thank you for your impact in my life growing up. Really appreciate all the values you instilled in me. It has helped me immensely in my life to be successful. To my family members here present, to my son, Samuel, Elsie, my daughter, Benedicta, my girlfriend, Emmanuel, my son-in-law, Charles and James, my two nephews, thank you all for your support. I love you all. To the rest of my family who might be live streaming and could not make it, thank you too for all the support that you've given me. And now to my former teammates, Paul and David. I'm here to accept this honor as a tribute to you. I could not have achieved this milestone alone. Thank you guys for being my friend and also for supporting me during our time here at Liberty. Lastly, this could not have been possible without the vision, leadership of legendary Coach Bill Bell and his wife, Mary. Coach was my mentor and father during my years spent on Liberty campus. Mother Mary took on the motherly role and made us feel at home. I will forever be grateful to Coach and his wife for their love, support, and guidance. As I prepare to leave the podium, I humbly accept this award on behalf of all my teammates, the great fan base at Liberty during my soccer career. I am so grateful to Liberty family for everything that you guys did to support me while here. Being a student from another country wasn't always easy, but we were always able to navigate through that. And we've been able to make our lives better our children's lives better, our friends' life better. If anything, I hope I've been an inspiration to a lot of people, a lot of the young players that came after me, and it's my wish that all the other students that are coming after us will not only come here and play in their respective sports, just showcase your God-given talent on the field, but also don't forget, you also have a calling of your education, a calling of making an impact in other people's life. Right now, I practice emergency medicine in Phoenix at a very big hospital. Emergency medicine is not an easy feat. Not every one patient is the same. But the empathy, the love, the caring attitude that I learned from being a student here, and the mentors, Coach Bell especially, all my professors in the organic chemistry, physics, and biology have really made an impact. And I'm using all those skills in treating patients, at the same time, showing them love and empathy. And I really thank all of you for spending the night with us. I know you have better things to do than being here with a bunch of new inductees. But yeah, I'm so grateful that you could all make that little time out of your life to help somebody like me. Thank you, and may God bless all of you.
Thank you very much, Samuel. Welcome to the Hall of Fame. A couple of housekeeping duties before we get to our final inductee. We've got a couple of videos that we've done with all the inductees. Those will be posted to our Liberty Flames YouTube channel and our website here in the next couple of days, maybe a week or so. And there's also going to be an event recap on our website at some point, probably tomorrow. So for those friends and family watching at home and here, be sure to go to our website for those recaps. All right, time now to take us home. Jeff Mincy, where did you bat in the lineup? You're batting cleanup. You're going to bat cleanup tonight. Is that okay? All right. You're going to end us on the tarmac. Yes, yes, sir. Landing safely. Jeff Mincy did a lot for the baseball program, including being part of the inaugural team in 1974. He was drafted, first player ever drafted out of the baseball program. He also coached here. Some of the exploits you'll hear about in his intro video before we bring up one of his teammates.
Jeff Mincy helped launch a standard of excellence for Liberty baseball, as the four-time captain was part of the inaugural team in 1974. Mincy and his teammates went from startup program to reaching the 30-win mark. Liberty went 31-10 in 1976, ending the year with a win over 17th-ranked South Carolina. Mincy was the first Liberty player ever selected in the Major League Draft, taken by the Pittsburgh Pirates in the 21st round in 1976, but instead came back to school for his senior year. The Concord, California native returned in 1980 as an assistant coach. In 8 seasons, Mincy helped the Flames make 3 straight trips to the NAIA World Series and eventually transitioned to become Liberty's first program to play at the NCAA Division I level.
Please welcome Jeff Mincy's teammate, Clay Elliott, as he'll present Jeff Mincy here tonight.
Hi, everybody. In 1955, a couple moms gave birth to 2 nerd pioneers, Bill Gates and Steve Jobs. I got to see Steve Jobs up close and in person as we went to 3rd and 4th grade together at Monte Loma Elementary School in Mountain View, California. Between these 2 pioneers, another mom gave birth to a different kind of pioneer, an athletic pioneer, a baseball pioneer, Jeff Mincy, who I also got to watch in action. A pioneer is a person who is among the first to explore or settle a new area. Jeff was this man for Liberty baseball. He was the first scholarship captain, first four-time captain, and maybe the only four-time captain I ever know of. First full-time assistant coach, and one of the first athletes ever drafted into the pro sport world out of Liberty. A pioneer doesn't necessarily set out to be a pioneer, but he will be passionate about his journey. He will work hard. He will overcome obstacles. He doesn't take no for an answer. He doesn't complain. He finds solutions. He will become great. And I might add, if he is a believer, he will do it all to the glory of God. Jeff fits these to a T. I met Jeff before I arrived at Liberty. Being a native Californian, he came over to my brother Steve's in my house in San Jose, and after meeting him, I was convinced that Steve and Jeff, as teammates, I felt as though baseball at Liberty could be fairly successful. Jeff was a stud. Physically, he was imposing. He played the quarterback position of catcher. He led mostly by example. He spoke freely of his faith in Jesus. He laughed. He was a man's man. The first introduction of me meeting Jeff motivated me to come to Liberty, and I wanted to be like Jeff. Upon arriving at school in 1975, I immediately discovered our obstacles. I'm not going to list them all, but as I watched Jeff closely, I saw that he never whined about any of them. That's what a leader does. He leads by example. Our locker room was dumpy Miller Park, the bathroom, where our town winos, Shag and Blue, hung out. The field was grossly undersized and pathetic. We had no grass in the infield, and it was too long and patchy in the outfield. We'd have to put our shaggers on the other side of the fence during BP because the field was so small. Coach Worthington would drag the infield with his '64 Plymouth Valiant, pulling a huge broom. It was embarrassing. The truth is, I played pickup baseball as a kid on better fields than this one. But there's the thing. I never heard anybody complain. I think this mentality started with our captain, Jeff. Jeff and I became fast teammates. We lifted together, ran the hill that took us up off the island together, which we hated, played catch in the snow together, and with half of our team, we snuck down to the downtown YMCA to work out because Liberty didn't have a workout room. And when it rained, our team hit wiffle balls and took infield in the Lynchburg Academy gym. And then afterward, my brother Steve, Jeff, and I would pile into my parents' station wagon, remember those? And head to the island cafeteria where we would chow down on a mediocre meal, I think it was food, while getting yelled at for wearing baseball gear at the table. Not surprisingly, Jeff won the heart of the prettiest girl on campus, Debbie Reynolds, who later became his wife, and now they are in the process of celebrating 43 years together. They raised 4 great kids, and I got a bunch of grandkids. You heard them all over here the whole night. I played 5 years of pro baseball with some great catchers that made it to the big leagues, but Jeff was better than all of them. He was faster than all of them. His arm was stronger than all of them. His leadership was better than all of them. And his hitting power was mightier than all of them. To wrap this up, I want to bring you inside the dugout of our 1976 baseball team. We were playing University of South Carolina. We believed we could beat anybody, but this day we were struggling a bit. I think it was the 5th inning, and we were down by 5. Coach Worthington came into the dugout and did something he never did before. He yelled at us. Jeff went up to the plate to begin the bottom of the 5th and hit a shot to the outfield that ignited our team, and we came back and beat the University of South Carolina. Whatever statistics I could whip out to you about Jeff would be incomplete, because the truth is, the first 2 years of Liberty baseball stats are lost. We've talked about this a number of times. I think Jeff hit 500 both years. No, he didn't. I'm just kidding. But here's the deal. Pioneer doesn't care about stats. He doesn't care about accolades, and he doesn't care about trophies. He just enters the arena and gets after it. I'm very proud to introduce to you my best friend and one of the greatest men I know, and the newest member of the Liberty Hall of Fame, Jeff Mincy.
I know you're not. I don't know how to even speak after that introduction. But I'm a guy that likes to do things right. And I want to set it right because I wasn't the first guy drafted. Both of us were drafted that year. I was in the 21st round by the Pirates. He was in the 9th round by the Braves. So that sets the record straight. Like I said, this is hard right now. I never knew he would do something like that. First of all, I want to congratulate Larry. And Larry, you were talking about family. My support's all over there, and you saw him running around. My oldest granddaughter was sitting on my lap. She said, "This has been long, Papa." She says, "But I'm still going to listen to everything you say." So that's family. But I want to congratulate Larry and Henry and Andrea and Samuel and Coach Hought for their induction tonight. And I'm honored to be inducted into this class with each one of you. Clay already introduced my wife to you. She was a cheerleader here at Liberty. So I found her my junior year here at Liberty, and as he said, it's been 43 years later. 4 adult children, 2 boys, 2 girls, 10 grandchildren, 8 girls, 2 boys, and we love them all. Hey, Shy. I want to tell you a story, and some of this is going to be duplicated because we played together, about how Liberty baseball began and how I got here to Liberty University. I wish I would have asked my teammates more of this that inaugural season. One of the guys on the inaugural team who was supposed to be here tonight, Chip Smith, was a dual athlete here. He's a member of the Hall of Fame, but he was our second baseman that inaugural year. Chippy's a great friend as well to myself and Clay. But I grew up in the San Francisco Bay Area, just like Clay did. We didn't even know each other at all. We lived probably about an hour apart. I was up in the East Bay of San Francisco. Clay lived in the South Bay of San Francisco. My dad used to tell me that the only thing that I ever did 100% in life was play baseball, and he was probably right. My dream and goal as an 8-year-old boy was to play professionally. As a catcher, my idol in high school was Johnny Bench, the Cincinnati Reds. And that's why I wore number 5 at Liberty. God had blessed me with a little bit of talent, and my path was heading in the right directions as I was making all-star teams as I moved through the youth and teen leagues growing up. I was also scouted by the Cincinnati Reds my senior year of high school. After high school, my plan was to attend Diablo Valley College, a local junior college, and start my education and play baseball, knowing that I maybe could have a chance to be drafted in the Major League draft over the next 2 years, because when you enter a junior college, you can get drafted after your freshman or sophomore year. If you enter a four-year school, you can't get drafted until after your junior year. But, however, a phone call changed the course of my life. I can still visualize this event even today. In the summer of 1973, after graduating from high school, I was at work at my summer job when my boss came up to me and told me I had a phone call. When I arrived at the phone, the voice on the other side said, "This is Al Worthington. I'm going to be the new baseball coach at Lynchburg Baptist College in Lynchburg, Virginia." And I said, "Where's that?" Currently, I'm the pitching coach with the Minnesota Twins, and we are in town playing a 3-game series with the Oakland A's. And this was probably about the end of July. "Can you come over and see me in the next couple of days at our hotel in Oakland?" I said, "Of course." In fact, the next day was my day off. And to this day, I still do not know how he got the phone number of where I was working to give me a call. I went to see Coach Worthington the next day and met him in the lobby of the hotel where the Twins were staying in Oakland by the A's ballpark. Before heading up to his room to talk to Coach, Coach introduced me to several of the Twins players, such as Rod Carew and Jim Hought and Harmon Killebrew. That was amazing in and of itself, being recruited like that. We probably talked for about an hour in his hotel room. I had brought with me the Cincinnati Red Scouts business card, and I wanted him to see that so that if he wanted to, he could call him and talk to him about my playing ability. And I also brought some recent newspaper clippings of my games from my senior year. I didn't like talking about myself. Therefore, I thought Coach could use these items to judge my talent and playing ability. After all, he had never seen me play. After our conversation, Coach looked at me and he said, "Jeff, I'm going to offer you a full 4-year scholarship." And back then, it was a full 4-year scholarship. Full tuition, room and board, and books. I didn't have to pay a dime when I went to school here. I walked out of that hotel, and my feet never touched the ground. I was totally amazed at what just happened. After leaving the hotel, I realized I had never asked Coach any questions about Lynchburg Baptist College, its campus, or baseball facilities, the dormitories, or academic programs. These questions never entered my mind, as I was so excited to have just been offered a full scholarship to play baseball and to see that my dream was going to continue. Well, in September, I left California for Lynchburg, Virginia, in a little Willys Jeep with another guy who I had met, who was also headed to Lynchburg Baptist College from my area, that was going there to be a preacher. We finally made it to Lynchburg after 3 straight days of driving. I did that every fall and every summer after the spring semester, the 4 years I was at Liberty. Drove straight across the country in 3 straight days. After arriving in Lynchburg, Coach called and he asked me to meet him at a place in downtown Lynchburg. I believe it was outside the old Stewart Arms Hotel, now the refurbished and restored Virginian Hotel. I showed up there, and there were 4 of us. Coach Worthington, a teammate from California named Mike Dolan, a guy named Tom Brown, who was going to be the baseball trainer that Coach brought with him from Alabama, and me. Coach looked at Mike and me and said, "Mike and Jeff, I gave out 21 full scholarships to baseball players from around the country. You 2 are the only 2 that stayed." That's how Liberty Baseball began. And Mike and I looked at each other. Both of us being from California thought, we're not going anywhere. So again, that's how baseball started. Liberty Baseball began with a 19-year former Major League Baseball player as our coach, 2 scholarship guys from California, no college campus, no lighted manicured baseball park to practice or play in, no plush locker room in which to hang out, but we had our own trainer. The next couple of weeks, Mike and I became quick friends and teammates and learned what we didn't know before departing California. We found out the college campus was the old Thomas Road Baptist Church. We also found out that our mode of transportation to and from our so-called campus was on rickety old green and white school buses. Our dorms were summer camp barracks on an island in the middle of a river, the James River, where we'd end up living the next 4 years of our lives. Isn't this a beautiful place? Our first practice field was on the island too. That wasn't much either. With that being said, our home games were played at City Stadium, which was and still is a single-A minor league baseball park. Coach Worthington completed our first team by recruiting other players such as Richard Zazueta, he was hoping to be here tonight, and Jim Fisher, who were both right-handed pitchers. He held walk-on tryouts, and he recruited a couple players from other teams at the college, such as Chip Smith, Willard DeSazier from basketball team, and Mike Goad from the basketball team. By the way, I want you to know, Coach didn't go easy on us, as Clay sort of alluded to. We opened the inaugural season by playing the University of South Carolina at Columbia, South Carolina. Bobby Richardson, the ex-New York Yankees second baseman and Hall of Famer, was the coach, and Coach Worthington's son, Al Jr., played shortstop. Needless to say, we got drilled. I remember being so embarrassed. I remember asking Coach after the game, respectfully of course, why in the world did we open up against these guys? They're Division I. The inaugural year ended with an 11-14 record. I forgot to bring my water up. That's my son, Travis. My sophomore season was better. Coach added some great players such as Steve Elliott, which is Clay's brother. Steve and Clay are probably the best 2 baseball players I ever played with in my life. Steve could run like a stallion. Clay was pretty fast too. I mean, he had a cannon for an arm at shortstop. He also landed Grant Odell, Ed Larimore, Wayne Stow, Dave Crowder. Dave Crowder, I just want to mention quickly, he passed away 3 years ago. He was a businessman here in Lynchburg, and he was a teammate. He was the first teammate of ours to go and be with the Lord. Kurt Christians, who was on the football team, joined us as well, and other walk-ons. Our practice field also moved to another location that was in the center of Lynchburg at Miller Park, which is still there today, which Clay has already alluded to and probably is going to give a better description than what I'm going to give you. This small Pony League-sized field would be our home for practice for the next couple of years. We had to carry our practice clothes with us to class every day because we had no lockers in which to store them. We would have to change from our street clothes into our practice clothes in an awful-smelling small bathroom at the park where 2 homeless and inebriated individuals hung out daily whose names were Shag and Blue. We would lead them to the Lord every day, every practice. We'd lead them to the Lord. Hopefully, we'll see them in heaven. We ended our second season with a 21-12 record. My third year is probably the greatest year in my eyes of the Liberty baseball program, because in just 3 short years, everything clicked, and the winning spirit began for Liberty Baseball. Coach added players such as Clay Elliott, Mark Leatherwood. Clay hit, I think, 391 that year. 391. I think, did Steve hit? Yeah, 39, okay. 5? 396. Oh, 396, okay. I want to get it right, buddy. All right. He added Mark Leatherwood, who was a freshman pitcher, and he went 9-3 that junior year. Larry Cannon, Ed Pollock, Bob Hall, and some more walk-ons. We went 31-10 and had the best record in the state of Virginia. We climaxed this season with arguably the greatest win in Liberty University baseball history with the University of South Carolina. When the University of South Carolina came into Lynchburg City Stadium, 37-12, ranked 17th in the NCAA polls, and we beat them. Per Coach Worthington, and this is per Clay Elliott because he asked the question, the 1976 team was the best team Coach Worthington ever coached. Our starting infield, we were all from California. His brother Steve was at third, Clay was at short, Ed Larimore was at second, Mike Dolan was at first, I was behind the plate, and when the man that beat the University of South Carolina with a fastball and a slider, Grant Odell, was on the mound. He also was from California. The whole infield was from California. Opposing coaches always wondered how Coach was able to get all these Californians on his team. When asked by others how he recruited his players, he would say, "I pray them in." And indeed, he did. He never saw any of us play. He prayed us in. God can do it better. The headline in the Lynchburg News the next day was Flames wallop Gamecocks. We had beaten the Gamecocks 13-6, who played for the national championship at the College World Series the year before. They were still coached by that ex-New York Yankee, Bobby Richardson. And Coach Richardson told the Lynchburg News after that game, they can compete, and I mean with anyone. This victory was even sweeter to me. As I mentioned, this was the school we opened up against our inaugural year and by whom we got embarrassed. This was the year we found out we could play with anyone and beat them. And this spirit of winning and confidence continued year after year. The opportunity to play for Coach Worthington was all that I anticipated it to be. It was a wonderful, enjoyable experience. He was a man that knew the game of baseball pretty much inside and out. One of the main things he did for me as a catcher was he taught me how to call a game. He taught me what pitch to call in certain situations and in certain counts. He talked to me about changing speeds on the ball to keep hitters off balance. When you're ahead, throw hard. When you're behind, change speeds. A bad pitch can set up the next pitch. Don't throw on 3-2 what you wouldn't throw on 2-2. Climb the ladder. These are just some of the things he taught me. During my 4 years of catching, I was able to call every game, of course, along with my pitcher, working with the pitches that were working for him that day. Together, we would work to get hitters out. This is very unusual nowadays in college baseball, where coaches call every pitch. The catcher is always looking into the dugout for the sign for the next pitch to be thrown. I was so grateful that Coach taught me this skill and trusted me to call a game. And that's why I came to play at Liberty, then Lynchburg Baptist College, because I was going to play for a professional, a pitcher who knew the game and who could teach me as a catcher how to do it. He also shared these words of wisdom with me on the field one day before a game. I believe it was my sophomore year. Coach looked at me and he said, "Jeff, I want you to know that I don't know much about catching, but if you do it wrong, I'll know." Coach always had nice little sayings like that. Coach also came to me another day and asked me to teach the other catchers everything I knew about catching. I said, sure, Coach. I thought to myself, I'll teach them everything I know, as I wasn't afraid to lose my position to them, because if they wanted to take my position, they'd have to work 10 times harder than me. Coach not only taught us about the game of baseball, he taught us about character and integrity and how to live a godly life. He had a saying, that's NC, which meant no character. That's no character. He was always teaching us and telling us stories. For example, he saw me walking on campus one day with a girl on the sidewalk, and she was on the roadside. When he saw me at practice that afternoon, he said, Jeff, don't let me see you walking on the sidewalk with a girl being on the roadside anymore. You should be on the roadside. To this day, I cannot walk down a sidewalk with a girl, regardless of her age, without positioning myself on the outside, closest to the road. He taught us to always leave things better than how we got them, and to be men of our word. He told us, if you make mistakes, make little ones. Coach wanted us to be great ball players. He also wanted us to be men of character and integrity. Coach was a great storyteller, too. At practice, he would tell us about his experiences in the major leagues. I wish I could remember most of them and the names that went with them. He would use these stories to motivate us to achieve and succeed. He told us of a story of a pitcher who walked in from the mound after an inning, and the manager met him at the foul line, and he asked him, son, are you tired? Coach taught us to always hustle. He taught us to be hungry ball players. He said you can't beat hungry ball players. He told us to keep our opponents down when we had them down. He told us if we had friends on the other team, they weren't our friends now. They can be your friends after the game. He wanted us to be competitors. He wanted us to focus on winning. I could go on and on about Coach and what a great coach he was. But even more important, Coach was a man who loved God and who loved sharing Jesus with everyone. He was not and still not is ashamed to ask people if they know where they are going when they die. Coach was a godly example to every one of us. I saw Coach a year and a half ago for his 90th birthday. Steve Johnson and I drove down. Steve was a player that I coached while I was here. I drove down to Birmingham, Alabama. Steve and I drove down to Birmingham, Alabama, and my two teammates, Mike Dolan and Ed Larimore, flew in from Seattle in California. We spent the weekend with him and his wife. And Coach is still writing letters and signing his baseball cards and telling people about Jesus. I talked to him a couple of months ago, and he's still doing well, but doesn't get around very well like he used to. If you'll allow me and be so kind to reminisce a little more, I'd like to share a couple of highlights of my playing career. As players know, some highlights don't necessarily end up in the statistics. My freshman year, and this still is in question as I talked with both of these guys, Mark Thrift and Zaz Weta and Dave Neff, they're watching right now. I caught the first no-hitter, at least I caught a no-hitter. My understanding, I thought Mark Thrift was the one that hit it because I remembered in my mind running out to give him a hug after catching the last pitch. But my buddy Richard Zazweta, who was an incredible strong-arm pitcher, informed me that Mark got in trouble in the 9th inning, and he had to come in, and he got the last 3 outs, and he didn't allow a hit. So it was a combined no-hitter, but I caught it. I also caught Coach Worthington that year as we played an exhibition game against the Lynchburg Twins at City Stadium. They had just returned from spring training, and we had scheduled a game with them, and Coach pissed for us. This was a great experience for me to be able to catch my coach during my freshman year. Again, probably the greatest highlight of my playing career here is that South Carolina game. It was just incredible. It wasn't supposed to happen. They were the Goliath. We were David. They were ranked. They were everything. But one thing the stats didn't tell you that day was the first inning, this guy got on base named Mark Van Bever, and Clay played against him in minor league ball. And he was the #1 base stealer in Division I. He had stolen 85 consecutive bases. Well, he tried to run that day, the first inning, and I gunned him out. And if my memory serves me correctly, they didn't steal the rest of the game. And in the 3rd inning, we scored 6 runs, and I got 2 hits in that inning and an RBI. That was an incredible game for the whole team, the whole baseball program at Liberty University. Like I said, arguably probably the greatest game ever won by a Liberty baseball team in such a quick or short amount of time, I should say. Well, I also coached here. Coach called me back to be his first full-time assistant. I coached 8 years with him, and as the clip mentioned, we made it to 3 consecutive NAI World Series that propelled us to the NCAA Division I level. We were blessed to coach young men such as Sid Bream, Lee Guterman, Randy Tomlin, Renard Brown, Pat Sight, Doug Smith, Niles Creekmore, Jamie Mason, Kyle Bryan, Rick Wells, Mike and Clint Horsley, Steve Yonts, Dave Bream, and many other great players. It was incredible, the players that the Lord sent to us. And we also had the first 41 season. As I continue to reminisce while preparing this speech, I remembered that those of us who started back in those early years of Liberty University are now referred to as pioneers. However, I like to call us trailblazers, as we, as individuals, we were relentless as we learned from our failures and setbacks on the playing field and forged trails so that others could follow. Some of the athletes that came during those early years had the talent and ability to play at the Division I level, but chose to take the road less traveled, knowing that there would be challenges, such as little recognition, knowing there were no state-of-the-art athletic facilities or beautiful stadiums or arenas in which to play, except in those with whom we would compete against. As the baseball team was established, new recruits were added. Some players came from other Liberty sports, while others walked on and gave their very best to make winning and success possible. This combination of players developed a passion and a purpose and a camaraderie that allowed Liberty baseball to go from an inaugural team that struggled to win games to developing a dominating, winning spirit in just 3 short years. This past summer, I read a quote from a 15-year-old that is currently considered one of the top basketball recruits in the nation. As a young high school student in California, he said, "If you're a pro, then you're a pro, no matter what college you go to. Instead of going to one of the top Power 5 conference schools, as he is being recruited by many, he's looking to attend an historically black college or university to use his talents to help put them on the map and help them achieve greater success. This same attitude existed during the trailblazing years of the Liberty University baseball program. We all came and we stayed because we were united and committed to a cause greater than ourselves, that of a great visionary, Dr. Jerry Falwell Sr., who had a dream to train champions for Christ. Athletically, he wanted to compete against the very best and at the highest level. Even more important, he wanted to consistently win at that level and win championships. He also had a rally cry that was shouted from the mountaintop: if it's Christian, it ought to be better. Back in those early years, we didn't have much, but God took what we did have, and he blessed it, and he broke it, and things started happening. Tonight, the coaches in this room and the players you are privileged to coach get to take advantage of world-class athletic facilities that we never had, but we knew would eventually be built on this mountain. God continues to bless Dr. Falwell's dream and his vision through many of you sitting here tonight who lead Liberty Athletics and Liberty University. God continues to bless this dream, and it is something incredible and amazing, something that the world has had to reckon with and even has been spurred to realize and appreciate. By God's grace and through his power, Liberty will continue to achieve great things. Those of you in leadership, I encourage you to do it right with integrity and character. The temptations are there to sideline you if you let them, but don't let them. Stay strong in the Lord and be courageous and do it right. Many others have come after us, trailblazers, and more continue to come to keep this dream alive. Hopefully the very best, the 3, 4, and 5-star recruits, and even the walk-ons who have a huge heart, who want to prove that they can compete, and who just ask for the opportunity to do so. And when given that opportunity, they develop into players who contribute, and even some earn scholarships and become stars. Those future student athletes who choose to attend Liberty come not to seek recognition for themselves or to only pursue a professional career, even though that may happen, but may they choose to come to honor their Lord with their life and live out their God-given talent in a way that they remember who they are and whose they are. In closing, I want you to know that this recognition and honor was an unbelievable surprise to me, because I was just one of those guys who loved playing the game, the best game. Coach Worthington played football and baseball at Alabama. He always told us that the greatest thing about playing baseball was that after losing a game, you could get right back out there the next day and play and change yesterday. You didn't have to wait a week. I loved the camaraderie with my teammates. I loved competing. I loved catching. I loved playing for Liberty University. I loved playing and coaching with Coach Worthington. There's no better coach in the world in my book. I wouldn't change anything about my experiences here at Liberty. Therefore, I humbly accept this honor on behalf of my teammates that I had the privilege and opportunity to play with, and who all contributed to blazing trails for Liberty baseball to be what it is today. I humbly accept this honor on behalf of the many great players God brought to Coach Worthington and me. We were so privileged and blessed to coach these young men and be a part of their lives. I humbly accept this honor on behalf of a wonderful, humble Christian man who was an incredible coach. Who built a program to honor God, Coach Al Worthington, who loved me. He was like a second father to me. He coached and mentored me and developed me as a baseball player, and even more important, taught me how to live the Christian life. It's truly one of the main reasons why I am the man I became. Most importantly, I humbly accept this honor on behalf of a loving God who takes us as we are and molds us into something he chooses us to be to accomplish his purpose in spite of our failures and inadequacies. Finally, Coach always had sayings. He told us as players, and many of them are great. The one I remember him saying the most was after we'd accomplished goals like beating South Carolina and James Madison University, when we had 3 consecutive appearances at the NAIA World Series, when baseball was the first sport to go Division I, when we achieved our first 40-win season, when our players were drafted by major league teams, and when we won hard-fought games. Coach would always say to us, guys, I'm just glad to be here. I say to you all tonight, I too was just glad to be here. In Lynchburg, at Lynchburg Baptist College, Liberty Baptist College, and Liberty University, at a time when nothing much was here but a dream. That dream is still alive. The flame has not gone out. God has done great things on this mountain, and he will continue to do so. I want to thank the Hall of Fame committee members for this special recognition and extraordinary honor. May we all work as unto the Lord to finish strong for what the Lord has called us to do, and may God continue to bless Liberty University. Thank you.
Congratulations, Jeff. Another round of applause for our 2020 Hall of Fame inductees. Taking us home tonight will be Dr. Ed Gomes with a closing prayer. Again, tomorrow the inductees will be honored at the football game, 12 noon kickoff on ESPN2. Look forward to seeing everybody out there. Dr. Ed Gomes.
You know, when I listened tonight about what I heard, I came in 1974. Dr. Fall had a vision. Dr. Fall had a vision. They thought he was nuts. He just kept on saying it. One day, we're going to compete on the highest level. And so to hear that as a student and then to see it, it's amazing. The influence of a coach. And that's the influence that Dr. Falwell had on us. And so tonight, we have a lot to be thankful for. And I can tell you, under the direction of our athletic director, that we have a game plan to help our student athletes win academically. We have a game plan to help our students win athletically. We have a game plan for our students to win socially. And we have a game plan for our students to win spiritually. And that's who we are. And we will, Jeff, keep the dream alive. Let us pray. Father, tonight we want to say thank you. Thank you for memories. Thank you for the vision that Dr. Falwell had to one day compete on the highest level, and that we would use athletics as a platform for evangelism and discipleship. Evangelism and discipleship. And Father, I thank you for the testimonies of these folks who were inducted tonight. Thank you for what you have done for them. Thank you for what you have done in them. And then thank you for what you continue to do through them. And Father, right now we do pray for our university. We pray for Dr. Privo. We pray for our board. And we pray for our athletic director. We pray for our coaches. We pray, God, that we will hold the banner high. I pray, God, that we will continue to fulfill the vision that I found ahead. Thank you for the testimonies. Thank you for the lives that have been impacted through coaches. And Father, most of all, we say thank you for Jesus. Thank you that Jesus is the one who has changed our lives. Jesus is the one who's given us a new hope. And Father, tonight we just say thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. In Jesus' name, amen.
That's going to bring an end to our event here tonight. Have a safe trip wherever you may be going. Look forward to seeing everybody out at Williams Stadium tomorrow at noon. And go Flames. And for the inductees, don't forget your awards and your plaques over here to my left and right. Thank you.